We're finishing week 2. I can't believe it, 2 weeks are gone. My question is, how many weeks do we have left? No, 13. There's 15 weeks, you gotta include the final. 15 weeks, we have 13 left after we get through today. The homework's all graded. There was only one person I'm waiting for them to respond to an email. Other than that, everything's been graded as of today.
If we take the final on Tuesday, what time would it be?
I don't know the time yet. The final schedule wasn't out last I looked, but it probably should be out by now. But I'll be telling the date soon. I mean, I'm telling the time soon. Odds are it's somewhere around 2 o'clock though. And historically, a 2 o'clock class would have their final starting around 1:30.
And what if we have like another class that's
Yeah, they arrange the final schedule so no student ever has one overlapping another whatsoever.
Oh.
So what happens is the times, whatever class you think might overlap that you also have on Tuesdays, probably their final starting earlier than you think it is, or something like that. So they work out the schedule taking that into consideration. Any questions about the grading on the homework? Because we're using a grader this semester. You can see the process that takes place. Here's the weird part about the grading, is that by the time 2 o'clock Tuesday comes in, I've already received probably over 80 emails about grading because some people are already starting to resubmitting missing items. So by the end of it, it's almost come to over 120 submissions. So it's kind of hard to get through them all in only 2 days. But it looks like they're all done as of earlier today. And if you see a confusion, just email me and let me know if there's something confusing about it or something. Or if you have any questions about the grading, because this was her first week grading, so there was a lot of back and forth. So it's going to go smoother, I think, in the following weeks. But it wasn't bad. It went pretty fast, at least. All right. Next, where are we? We are on week 2. We're on September 12th, the second lecture of the week. Next week we have 2 lectures, and then your quiz is on September 24th. So it's coming fast. That's a week and a half from today, is that right? That sounds right. All right. Where am I doing here? Here's all the materials for week 2. Right there, look, there's the in-class, but it's not posted yet. See how it doesn't have the red dot? We have an in-class today. Here's the instructions for 2 o'clock. Let's look at them. It says we have this one assignment, 1 page, which will include written in Excel all in 1 page. It's due in 5 days, the 17th, right? Today's the 12th. Here's the materials for week 2, right below here. Now let's look at the assignment. Okay, here's the bad news. If any of you happen to have downloaded the homework assignment before, I can't remember what time yesterday, any time before yesterday, throw it away and go re-download it because I added a little bit to the homework. At the bottom here, I added a sentence that says, on number 25, also give the Excel equations and results to solve using Excel only. And here's your hint. That's this equation, this confident.t that we're going to learn today. That's what it's asking for, that very last sentence that I added.
The ones before that are all the same?
So everything else is the same. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, all I did was add that sentence.
Did you do it?
Because you downloaded it early?
Before that.
Did you already do it? He's not even here. I'm talking about oh, thank you. No, Jensen, did you download it?
What?
Did you download it?
Yeah, well, I was going through it on Tuesday, but I only did the first 2 problems.
Oh, you're fine. Speaking of the first 2 problems, the first one's on page 293, number 16, A and D only. Follow the directions on the assignment, not in the book. Look at A, look at D. Matter of fact, let's get this thing warmed up because I'm going to want to bring out the book in here. Look at A, look at D, but follow the directions on this page, which says, give the Excel entry and the results to find T. I'm giving you 2 choices, either TIMB or T.IMB to use. The significance is being given to you for 1 tail. That's the weird part about number 16. I'm literally telling you, don't take that significance and split it in half. It's literally giving you the significance only for 1 tail. That's what's making 16 A and D kind of weird. I'm not going to do that on a quiz. I'm going to give you the confidence. you gotta remember that the significance is the opposite and that you do need to divide it by 2. Let me repeat that. On a quiz, I most likely will never give you the significance, at least not on the first quiz. I'm for sure give you problems with the confidence. And then you gotta take that confidence and figure out the significance, which is the opposite, then divide it by 2 if you're looking for just one tail. Like, for example, if you're using the back of the book's, T-table to check it. But we're not gonna use the T-table, it's not necessary for the quiz. A lot of people use it just to double check their Excel equations. On the quiz, I'm expecting you to know how to use, last week was NIMV and this week is last week was norm INV and this week is TINV. These are the things replacing that Z table, replacing that T table that I'm expecting to see on the quiz, and I'm literally gonna be asking on the quiz, give me the equation to find T, or give me the Excel equation to find Z. I'm asking for it even, and the result. So if you use the table, you're gonna lose points, because I'm looking for that equation instead of the table. All right, number 17, A and D, this would be more similar to a quiz question, because this is asking you to give me the Excel equations, either TINV or T.INV, to find T, but it also says the significance is being given for 2 tails. This is more normal. You then either divide it in half or you don't have to, or don't, depending on which T-chart you're gonna use, if you use a T-chart at all. And if you notice, TINV is looking for the full significance, not just what's in one tail. So this would be a more apt to what you would see on a quiz, because I'm expecting you to put the full significance here as the first entry in if you happen to be using TINV. You don't have to divide by 2. Exactly, you're only putting both tails all together. No dividing, you're using the opposite of confidence for that equation. Number 19. 19A only, show you detailed work solving manually to give the Excel entry used to find T. Now let me clarify this, because I would say this, when we got to 6C in the problem whatever on the last homework, the biggest problem, I'd say people that lost the most points had missing. 6C, for some reason, people interpreted the instructions as if it only has to be solved manually and you don't have to do the Excel part, which I thought was kind of weird, but you lost a lot of points. Then a lot of people handed in the next day and got 75% of the points back. In the problem whatever, for some reason, a whole bunch of people gave me the Excels only and didn't give me the manual part. Look at this new homework. 19A is asking for both the manual and not the Excel. Let me repeat that. The manual way to solve it and not the Excel way to solve it. But it is asking for the Excel TINV formula to find T. You're not going to use a T-chart. You gotta allow me to see this formula so I know how you found T. Then you solve it manually. You're not going to use this confidence.T in this one. Only the last problem are you using this. Everybody still with me? This homework's not that long, it's just, I want to make sure the instructions are clear. Okay, the last problem, is that the last one? Yeah, 25. It's very similar to 19A in that you solve it manually, you give your TINV or T.INV to tell me what T is, you solve it manually, you're not using a T-chart, then you found your answers. Now solve it again using confidence.T equations. And the results. I think I'm asking for the results. So you're given the results twice. Your manual results and your Excel results may differ slightly when you get to the 3rd decimal, maybe even the 2nd decimal, who knows? Don't let that be a big deal, so what? It all depends on how you round it. By the way, how many digits are we going to the right of the decimal for the rest of the semester?
3.
3, good. All right, so our rounding at least is gonna be similar to each other, but we're going 3 decimals to the right on all the rounding along the way. Don't forget, all these problems, especially on the quiz, you should be showing at least 2 calculation details after the setup before the answer. Yeah.
So for 16 and 17, we're only using Excel?
You're only using Excel on 16 and 17. And you're only using one of these 2 equations up top here, TINV or T.INV.
Okay, and then 19, we're doing manual and Excel, but the manual is going to be using Excel?
You're only using
like for
manual at all. You're not doing Excel for the for 19A. You're not, when I say you solve it using Excel, that's that copy.
That's right. Oh.
Yeah, you're not doing that one for 19.
Oh.
What is it, 19A? Yeah, 19A. Only using one of these to find T, but then you solve it
Oh,
manually.
yeah, okay.
Matter of fact, I can't believe I forgot to put the manual formula up. Here we go. Equals mean plus and minus T times standard deviation, again, divided by the square root of the sample size. Is that right? Sample size. There's the manual formula that's expected to be used in both 17, no, I'm sorry, not 17, 19, and what's the one below it, 25? 19 and A and 25 are expecting you to, yes, you're giving one of these Excel equations to find T, but then all you're doing is plugging T in to solve it manually with your T formula. Let's not go too far, because we're ahead of ourselves. I need to check on you guys. Let me check on you right now. Go ahead, ask your question.
T.INV, is there a reason there's a dot?
I'm sorry, T.INV, is there a reason for what?
That there's a dot, because like sometimes the dot doesn't matter, right?
No, this is one of the rare occasions where the dot matters very much. It's a completely different number in the front number if you use the dot. Instead, you gotta use confidence plus half significance if you use the dot in this one. That's the weird one. Here we go. Uh-oh, I can barely see this. I'm so blind. Let's get this bigger. According to a survey, 44% of adults admit to keeping money secrets from their partners. Suppose the survey is based on 1,000 respondents. Compute the 90% confidence interval. Let me stare at this for a second, because number one that we learned last week was population standard deviations known, and we knew to use our Z formula with a mean. The one we're learning this week is the population standard deviations unknown, but we do get the sample standard deviation, and we know to use T then. And then the third one we're learning next week is proportion, and it doesn't have a standard deviation, so we know it's proportion. Which one's this? Proportion. Very good. You hear him? He said proportion. There's no standard deviation. Right there. How come I didn't hear anybody? What's going on here? Based on a sample of 100 U.S. consumers, a researcher finds that the average amount spent annually on a debit card is $7,790. Assume the population standard deviation is 4,500. What would be the 99% interval? Is this Z, T, or proportion?
Z.
Very good. Z, because population standard deviation. There it is. Oh my God, this first quiz is going to be easy. We should all get A's. No excuses. MZ, I just realized you're sitting here. Oh, okay. I got this to get back to you after class, okay? One last one, make sure we're all on the same page. An economist reports 560 out of a sample of 1,200 middle income American households actively participate in the stock market, construct a 90% confidence interval. A Z, T, or proportion? Very good. That was fast. She was all over it. I could barely finish. It reminded me of the show where everybody's hitting the thing at the same time. She killed you guys. All right, that's the hardest part about the first quiz, is recognizing which formula to use. You guys, at least from your homework, if you're doing your own homework, are showing that you know how to use the formulas once you know which one to use. And it's so easy right now because the homework is only one formula. And last week it was the Z formula, and next week's gonna be the proportion formula. So this first quiz, you should kill it. And don't get me wrong, because you won't kill the second or third quiz in most cases. So you need this first quiz. So go at it as if you're gonna kill it. Well, I wanna make sure you're prepared. I'm being honest. Well, hardly anybody gets an A on the second sheet. That's true. It ends up starting to hurt people's grade. They start to come down a little, and then the following exam they fall apart. What can I say? Man, just too much information. Hopefully you're scared enough to All right. Let's talk about the TIMVs. These two right here. The big difference, and I said it just a few minutes ago, but I want to make sure everybody heard it again. This is what you're using to find T. You're using it to find T when you're going to use the manual equation. So you're doing this for the first problem on the homework, you're doing this for the second problem on the homework, you're doing this for the third problem on the homework, you're doing this for the fourth problem on the homework. All 4 problems, you're using one of these. Just decide which one's more comfortable for you. Here's the weird part. Yes, there is a difference. Almost every equation we've had in 301 and last week, there was no difference whether you use the dot or not use the dot. The same numbers go inside the parentheses. This is the only one we've learned where you gotta use a different number for the first number if you're putting the dot in. T, I, and B, the first number is the significance, period. I find this one to be the easiest one in my opinion. Because it's just the opposite of the confidence. If it's 90% confidence, that first number is 0.10. If it's 95% confidence, that first number is 0.05. There's no dividing in half or anything. But if you decide to use the dot IND, it's the confidence plus half the significance is the first number. For both of these, the second number is degrees of freedom. If the sample size is 25, how many degrees of freedom?
24.
24, very good. It's that easy. Degrees of freedom are obvious. Boom. Sample size -1. That's it. Good.
If you give us half the significance, can we just double that and use the first equation?
No. Double the first, this one?
Double half the significance, and then just use the first equation instead of the second one.
Yeah, but I never give you half the significance. I see your point now, but I never give you that. I almost always give you the confidence. So
In
you,
the homework, I mean.
in the homework thing, you might give you the significance?
It said, the first question I think said. you give
Oh,
me
the
half
first 2 problems?
Yeah.
Remember that first problem. You guys, do not rely on that first problem as possibly a quiz problem because it's only giving you half the significance. And I'm never gonna give you just half the significance. So I had to put it on there, but you know, don't prepare for it as a quiz on that first question. So, here we go. Here's the difference. Let's say in this particular problem, what does it say? We're gonna find a 95% confidence interval with a sample size of 100. That's all the information you need to find T. So if you look here, it says equals T, IMV. It's saying 95% confidence, so you put the opposite, which is 0.05 significance, comma. It says sample size 100, so the degrees of freedom would be 99. Now, down here though, same problem, 95% confidence, sample size 100. But the difference is, to get the same T, is that first number is not 0.05. Instead, it's 0.95 plus half of 0.05, which would be 2.5%. So that's why you got 97.5%. 0.975 is the first number. I know we've had other equations last week where you're taking the confidence plus half the significance, but if you, in my opinion, if you have the option to just use the significance without that dot, this is the one I find easier. But it's up to you. You can use either one you want. They're both acceptable.
So if it's in one tail, you have
Say
to
that again?
double. If it's only in one tail, you have to double the significance.
Oh, is that what you were asking me? I didn't realize that's what she was asking. That's probably what she was asking. I didn't realize it. You're saying that if they're only giving you half the significance, you should just double it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's the question. Yes. Yes, that's another way of solving it. You would just double it. That's right. Check the answer in the back though. Make sure. Any questions about how using T-INV and T.INV? Go ahead.
So you don't have to use both.
No, you don't have to use both. But whatever one you find more comfortable, you're just finding T to place it into there. That's all. You're showing me the work on how you found that number by giving me one of these equations. And then the result will be inserted right there. Everybody okay? Are you ready? Okay, here's the other equation. Wait. And let's do both. Let's do both. Okay, here's the other one. Let me make it bigger. Okay, in this example, I'm demonstrating this equation. We have the sample mean is 38.6. The sample, notice it says sample standard deviation, not population, is 4.2, and the sample size is 41. The moment you saw that word sample standard deviation, you should have said to yourself, okay, this is T, not Z. And it's giving us a mean. So it's the second one. The population standard deviation is unknown, but we're given the samples and we're using T, which is this formula. So if I said, hey, like that very last problem in your homework, I want you to solve it completely using just Excel, you're giving me this in one equation. Now I want to refresh everyone on this because a lot of you handed in the Excel equation on last week's homework where you didn't give me the full equation. All you gave me was the word confidence and the numbers in the parentheses. And then you gave me the result and then you added it to the mean and subtracted it to the mean yourself manually. The whole point of giving me the Excel equation is that you don't have to use anything manually. It's demonstrating that you know how to use Excel to solve it in one full equation. In this case, you've got to take the mean plus, and then the other one would be minus, confidence dot t. That's the difference this week because we have sample standard deviation. Dot t. The first number is going to be the significance. Yeah, the significance. So if it's a 90% confidence, put 10% there. If it's 95% confidence, put 5% there. If it's 99% confidence, put 1% there, 0.01. The second number is the standard deviation, which in this case is 4.2. The third number is the sample size, not degrees of freedom, sample size. Yes, these T, I, and B's use degree of freedoms, but this Excel equation, solving the whole thing, sample size is the last number, not degrees of freedom, sample size. All right, we gotta do a couple examples. I want you to help me find T, not using the T chart, by using one of these equations. We'll do one with the one equation, or we'll do another one with another the other. Then I want you to help me come up with the Excel equation that solves it completely using confidence. So let's go to this example from the PowerPoint. Slide 23, anyone following along? Okay. Don't tell me it's here. It's not here. We know what the result should be though. A random sample of 25. X with a line over it means sample mean equals 50. An S instead of the symbol with the curly on top means sample standard deviation equals 8. On the quiz, I will give you words, not symbols. I will say sample standard deviation, or I will say sample mean. I will not give you symbols, words. There they are. Here we go. I'm going to start with equals T, I, and V for this problem. Define T so we can solve it manually. Tell me what the significance is in this case.
0.05.
Very good, 0.05, comma. What's the degrees of freedom? Not all at once.
24.
24, very good, 24. That's it, it's that easy. All right? Real quick, if I wanted to use the other one, instead of that one, if I wanted to use the one T dot I and V, what would be that first number? 97.5%. You've got to take the 95% confidence, the significance is 5%, half of it would be 2.5, add the 2.5% to the 95, 0.975, comma, degrees of freedom is still 24. There's if you decide to use the other equation. Again, you don't use both, one or the other, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. Now, let's solve this using Excel as if we're not doing it manually at all. We're going to use confidence. Equals, what's the mean? What's the mean?
50.
50 it is. 50 plus and minus, however you want to write it, plus minus CONFIDENCE dot T, parentheses, significant, 0.05, comma, standard deviation. I don't know it. What is it?
8.
8, I heard it. 8 it is. Degrees of, no, not degrees of freedom. Sample size.
25.
25. And then you put the results, and oh my God, was that too hard. Oh, I'm sweating, it was so hard. Oh my, who's making this class easy? Are we recording this? I'm gonna lose my job making this class this easy. They're gonna make me retire. Just kidding. I don't have much else. Let's do one more example, and then let's do an in-class assignment. Let's go home early, that kind of thing. Did I say that out loud? I'm going to page 291 at the bottom. This is an example we saw last week. Now look, I wrote the mean down and I wrote the sample standard deviation down. All right, right there. Yeah, I'm trying to make it. There we go. Okay, I want to start out with, I want to know the T, this time we'll do the T dot I and V. We'll do that. And then after we get done with that, both of these, we'll go ahead and do the 50, we'll do the confidence ante. So I'm going to do both, T, I, and V, but we're starting with the dot. I'll read the problem out loud. Says, in the introductory case in this chapter, Jared, blah, 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 wants to estimate the mean miles per gallon for ultra green cars. The accompanying data file gives you this information. The mean is 96.52 miles per gallon. Standard deviation of the sample is 10.697. It says that the list of miles per gallon for a sample of 25 cars. Use the information to construct a 90% confidence interval for the population mean. So here we go. I want to start pretending like we have to solve this manually. We just saw that we have the sample standard deviation, so we know we got to use the T formula. It says the confidence is 90%, is that what it says? So I'm going to go with this top one here. What is the first number? T dot IMV. What's the first number?
95.
95%, because 90% confidence is 10% significance. Half of 10% significance is 5, added to 90, 0.95. Very good. Degrees of freedom. I gotta look. Degrees of freedom.
24.
24 it is. Very good. Now, we're using the other equation. TINV with no dot. What will be that first number?
0.1.
0.10, 10% significance, 24 degrees of freedom again. Boy, this is too easy. Oh, I'm having a heart attack, it's so easy. All right, let's solve it using Excel. See, I don't need to plug these in here, right? You guys can do this manually, right? Do we need to plug it in, should we? Let's do the manual real quick. What's the mean? What's the mean? 96.52. I think we did this manually on Tuesday, by the way. Plus and minus, whatever T turns out to be. Standard deviation is, thank you, 10.697 over the square root of 25. There you go. There's if we're doing it manually, but you would have a T there because you gave me this or this equation. But now it's like our homework, and I want the whole thing solved using Excel only. Equals, what's the mean again? 96.52 plus and minus, write it however you want to so I can see you're doing two equations in one. Confidence, CONFIDENCE dot T, parenthesis. Look at the problem. What's the first number? 0.10. You all over that. Look at what? Just see who you're talking to. 0.10, comma. What's the second number? Oh, it's not 25. No, it's not 24. 10.9. Look, you're batting 1,000 now. What's going on? 10.69. She had a big breakfast. 10.697. The comma. What's the last number?
25.
25 it is. Sample size. There you go. And you give me the results for both of them, plus and minus. Oh my gosh, this is too easy. Are you in the right class? This is supposed to be hard.
Can you explain why you use T, like how you know you're supposed to use T for this problem?
Wait, I don't have to answer that. I think, go ahead, answer it. Because the standard deviation is the samples. That's why we have to use T. If the standard deviation was the populations, we'd have to use Z. And if there were no standard deviation, we'd have to use proportion. But we knew to use T because it gave us the sample standard deviation. That's why we do it. That's the hardest part of the first quiz, is knowing which equation to use. And if you use the wrong equation, you've lost so many points. It's like, wow. There's one thing you gotta walk in here in week 4, on the day of that quiz on Tuesday, and that's knowing which equation to use. That's the thing you should have figured out by then.
Do we have to use all 3 formulas?
On the quiz, you'll have to. Oh, here?
Yeah.
No, you have your choice. Either one of these.
And the third one?
And then this one is if it's asking you to solve it Excel only, which is the last homework problem is asking for this with it.
Okay.
The last homework problem wants you to do it manually with this, and then the whole thing with this. You gotta do both on that last homework problem. How we doing? Seriously? We don't have anything else to talk about? Really? Let me turn this off because If you're gonna learn something about life, you have to show up for it, right? Hang on. Oh my God, this class is hard.